Hello, my ADHD kitties. Still lost in the realm of trigonometry? That's okay. Part 1 of this video series was just a tutorial, an introduction. Now it's time to take the gloves off, aka word problems. Later on, it's pi and square roots. Yikes! You might be wishing that you paid attention in Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. Don't worry though, we'll have a quick review. March on! Starting in a spot that's way, way back. Pythagorean theorem. You've seen it many times before. It's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We're going to work on remembering how to use it. So looking at our beautiful triangle, we see that a equals 3, b equals 4, and c is what we're trying to calculate. So everywhere that you see an a, you're going to put the number 3. So that's 3 squared. Everywhere you see a b, you're going to put a 4. So it's just substitution. And then that equals c squared. So grabbing your calculator, you're going to put it in exactly as you see it. So I'm actually going to write it down here, 3, and then there's a key that looks like this. So 3x squared is the button, and then you're going to press 4, and then press the button that has the x squared inside. Equals c squared. So, if you enter it exactly like that, you're going to get 25 equals c squared. Now, hopefully you remember that in order to get c, you take the square root of c squared and then also take the square root of the other side. So the square root of c squared is just c, and the square root of 25 is 5. So if we look up here, a is 3, b is 4, and c, equals 5. Using our Pythagorean theorem calculation from the previous slide, a is 3, b is 4, and c equals 5. So what we're doing now is we're trying to figure out what are the trigonometric functions. So what are they? Well, you might remember them from geometry. And the first one is sine. And sine is the same thing as opposite over hypotenuse. So you're going to say, well, what is that? Well, looking at our little pink theta over there, if you draw an arrow, going to the opposite side, the opposite is 3. And you should remember what the hypotenuse is, and that is the longest side, which is 5. So the sine of theta is 3 over 5. Copy it down just like you see it. So looking at our 3, 4, 5 triangle, this time we're going to calculate the cosine. And the way that you calculate the cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So remembering from our little, I don't know, our little trip to adjacent before, adjacent is the side that touches theta but is not the hypotenuse. So the adjacent side is 4. The hypotenuse is the longest side, and that's 5. So the cosine, and I guess I'm being lazy here, cosine of theta equals adjacent over hypotenuse. Write it down. Make sure you draw the triangle. Okay, so this time what we're doing is we're trying to figure out what is the tangent. So the tangent of theta is the same thing as the opposite over the adjacent. So hopefully this is getting a little bit familiar by now. And so if we're looking at theta, the opposite goes straight ahead. So the opposite is 3. And adjacent is the side that touches but is not the hypotenuse. So what's that? So the tangent of theta is 3 over 4. Copy it down. Even the triangle. Checking this out, we're going to calculate secant, cosecant, and cotangent. So for secant is hypotenuse, which is 5, and adjacent, which is the one that is touching but is not the hypotenuse. So the adjacent is 4. For cosecant hypotenuse, which we already knew was 5, and opposite, which is 3. And cotangent is adjacent, which is 4, over opposite, which is 3. Step 1. Calculate the value of C using the Pythagorean theorem. If you don't remember what it is, go back to your notes. Well, by this point, you should already be done, and now you're going to go through and check your notes. Now, I'm going to tell you the same thing that I told before, and that is that sometimes you're going to be asked to show your work. So this might be a good time. I mean, this looks like a lot, but it might be a good idea to show one just because you can. Next up, calculating trigonometric functions. This time it's practice, and it's all on you. You're going to find sine theta, cosine theta, and tangent theta. Take it away. Okay, so the sine theta is 6 over 10, cosine is 8 over 10, tangent is 6 over 8. So if you did not get those, make sure that you go back and look at your notes. Next. Okay, you know what to do. Calculate secant, cosecant, and cotangent. If you're not sure what to do, take a look at your notes. Okay, so that's it. Secant is 10 over 8, cosecant is 10 over 6, and cotangent is 8 over 6. This continues our short trip on the journey on trigonometric functions. You'll need the Pythagorean theorem too. It might be rocky in the beginning, smooth like now, and I don't know what it'll end up like. Part 3 calculates the 6 trigonometric functions, but this time it'll have pi, square roots, and fractions. Your extended time and calculator accommodations will help. Your notes are necessary. You can do this. I just know it. Remember, Edie loves math, even if you don't. Ciao.